Thank you for tuning in to another episode of That Is Effin' Weird. You click the play button so you know what you're listening to. Before we get into it, we'll introduce the host. I'm Alex.
This is Ro.
And I'm Seth.
And
We got it.
Yeah, Ro, it's been a while. We're glad to have you on. You actually have something for us to, dissect because you wanted to shed some light on a subject that we're not too well versed in. What do you have for us today?
Yeah, first of all, Alex, it feels so good to be back. And honestly, I missed you all. I spoke to you, Alex, about this. I missed you, Seth. I missed this podcast, and I just missed being part of this as a whole. So, yeah, I am back. And in my trademark style, I come bearing gory gifts. And today we'll be talking about one of the worst cults that I have ever heard about. And this was also known as possibly the most extreme forms of abuse of any modern cult. So, to all the listeners out there, a quick disclaimer: this episode contains conversations about sexual abuse, torture, etc. So, if this is something that can trigger intense emotion or is something that you're not comfortable with, we suggest that you skip this episode. We have more fun, lighthearted episodes in our list. You can go check them out.
That's a good disclaimer there. Thank you. We should probably do that on most of our episodes.
Okay, so cults. Alex said, before I start, any thoughts about cults in general?
We've covered cults, a couple of them, I feel like, or we've kind of touched. So there's been like the Modern Mystery School interview that we've done a few episodes back. There was a religious episode that we did way back when, not really cult, but I think we've touched on like, a little bit of Scientology. Even the Branch Davidians, that's the one that Clark had done. So I think we've covered it. We kind of know a little bit about some of the things that can happen in cults. My personal thing is I feel like it's very easy to prey on some people, that like, are depressed, looking for like a sense of belonging. I think if the person running the cult, I think if they know like how to prey on those people, it's very easy to get sucked in. It's sad, but it does happen. So, Seth, anything?
I just got done watching Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Great movie. And yeah, you get that nice kind of culty vibe with the family, the Manson family.
Yep.
Yeah. Good movie.
Right. But this cult that I'm going to talk about is this one's going to make you flinch. It's going to make you punch something and basically make you feel things. So today we're going to talk about the AntHill Cult, which is based out of Canada. Now, in a remote corner of the picturesque Canadian wilderness, nestled far away from the prying eyes of civilization, there existed a seemingly idyllic community. Now, a small group of individuals united by the desire of a life free from the constraints of society, and they had established a commune that at first glance appeared to be an oasis of free thinking and self-sufficiency. Now, amid the breathtaking beauty of this surrounding, these free-spirited souls, they had erected their haven, their dreamland, where the boundaries of the conventional world seemed to blur. And, their life was untouched by the complexities of modern life. However, behind this facade of this peaceful enclave laid a dark and disturbing truth that defied imagination. So, what initially presented itself as an innocent community of like minded individuals was, in fact, a house of horrors beyond anyone's twisted nightmares. And with the confines of this commune, unimaginable atrocities unfolded, shattering the very essence of humanity. Torture became a daily ritual, abuse and mutilation, both physical and psychological, left scars. And within those walls, the ultimate act of depravity, murder, took root, extinguishing lives and erasing all semblance of morality. So the leader of the AntHill Kids was Rock Theriot. Um, he was born in Saguenay Valley of Quebec in 1947 to Hyacinthe and Pierre Theriot. I'm so sorry. I'm going to butcher these names, so I'm sorry about that. Now, according to Rock, his father was abusive towards him through his entire childhood. However, his father denied these claims. He also dropped out of school when he was just 13 years old, and he developed an obsession with the apocalypse and the Old Testament, especially the strict code on masculine authority. So while Rock was raised Catholic, he converted to the Seventh day Adventist Church and followed their way of life. And he alcohol, tobacco, and processed foods. However, his time with the church was short-lived, and he was removed from the church after attempting to gain leadership. So, I actually had a question here to you both. If you know the answer, I just wanted to know what's the difference between a Catholic and a Adventist church.
Seth, do you know?
Yeah, Seventh Day Adventists are like, I don't know. I'm not a professional at this. I don't know everything about them. So if there's a Seventh Day Adventist, and I'm butchering this, but Seventh Day Adventists, like, we have a lot here, and they the seventh day they go to church. So they go to church on Saturday, and they're essentially Protestants. They're yeah, they're not Catholic. They're more Protestant. I don't think they're centralized in any way. They're kind of like Baptists, but a few differences.
So that's like I have this conversation with my wife a lot because I was raised Lutheran, she was raised Baptist, and it's just like there's a lot of different like variations. It's almost like Reddit. The best way I can, like, there's Reddit as the main hub, right? And then you have all these little subreddits. Like, I feel like that's Christianity. It's like all like well, I like to sing like new age like music during my church and like hallelujah. And then there's other ones who are like, no, I like to read from the hymn, you know, or sing from it and just tell a story. And there's I feel like that's kind of how Christianity is, where it's like, okay, yes, there's Catholic and there's Seventh Day and there's the, you know, Baptist and Lutheran. There's all these, but in a nutshell, it's kind of all the same. It's just kind of how you, I mean, how it's like presented, and it a little bit like, I guess, like based on how is your faith? Because like as a Lutheran, I know that like if you did communion, you know, you drank the wine, you ate the bread, you asked for forgiveness, you were going to go to heaven in a nutshell. But like talking with my wife, how she believes is like, no, just because you do communion does not mean you get to go to heaven. It's you have to believe, you have to, like, there's something in your life that will, you know, happen that you will 100%. I think it's born again. I think it's either born again. Yeah. I think So there's just like a little bit differences there.
But the moderators are way worse than on Reddit.
Yeah. So
good,
kind of
good old Christian joke right there.
Kind of a long explanation, Ro, but that's I feel like I feel like that's basically what it is.
Thank you. I when I was researching, I mean, obviously I thought I should ask you both because I just, yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. So while Theriot was removed from the church, he had already managed to secure himself a number of followers. And by mid 1970s, Theriot had convinced himself that he was the people's savior. He strongly believed that he was put on earth by God to save the world from evil and the upcoming apocalypse. So now he had a new goal to create a free thinking commune where his acolytes could listen to his teachings and live as equals. Oh, you see where this is going, right?
I feel like this is like a
Now,
lot like
in the
Jonestown. I feel like Jonestown was kind of the same way, where it was like this free society. Like everyone has like their little jobs, they work, but nothing is like, you don't pay for anything. Everything is free. You know, you can be whoever you want to be. Like that was, I think, like on the outside looking in, like that's what they kind of portrayed. You know, I think they had like a Christian. Well, yeah, because I think he thought he was Jesus. I think that was the thing, or like he was the Messiah. Correct?
I think he eventually got. You're talking about
Jim Jones.
Jonestown?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yes.
he that I forget the name of the church. It was in like San Francisco or something, but
Mhm.
it started off really normally, like a church you would just find
Yeah.
around here.
Yep.
And then it got weirder and weirder. And I think he started abusing barbiturates and all kinds of like uppers and downers until he just, he was insane. And
Yep.
and then he had those delusions. But I wish I knew a little bit more.
Well, you know,
I know he was forced to drink the Kool-Aid at gunpoint by his followers that
Yep.
he brainwashed.
Yeah. You know what's funny is we did this episode. We did like it's one of our first episodes. We might have to go back and take a listen to it. But
Yeah.
go ahead, Ro.
So in the beginning, the group actually did good deeds for the locals in that community, like offering food to the underprivileged, and providing medical care, or at least Rock's understanding of medical care, informed by his Seventh Day Adventist beliefs to the second individuals. But not before long, this group was ticking off all the boxes that marked a cult. So now this leader began demanding that his followers wear the same clothes. They were forbidden from having contact with the outside world. So he basically forced his followers to abandon their homes, abandon their families, after convincing them that the world and their loved ones were corrupt. Serio and his followers lived according to his personal representation of the Bible, and they accepted him as their God. And by, again, 1978, Theriot's delusions had grown exponentially, and he predicted that the world would end in February of 1979. To prepare for this apocalypse, um, him and his followers, 4 men, 9 women, and 4 children, moved to a place called Eternal Mountain near the Gaspé village of Saint Joges. Sorry, once again, um, if the names are incorrect. And this is where the group built a commune of tents and log cabins while he relaxed. And as he watched the group work, he compared them to ants working in an anthill, and thus naming the group as AntHill Kids. That is where the name comes from.
So he's the one who coined it.
So, yes,
Okay.
while he was relaxing. Oh,
Before we get too much further, I did remember one thing about the Seventh Day Adventist. There is a Seventh Day Adventist health food store that I go to, and I completely forgot. I do know a few more things that they believe. They don't take any kind of caffeine. Caffeine is a drug to them. So they have this weird, like they have a bunch of good products there, but they have zero meat. There's no meat. It's all fake meat. And then they also have this fake coffee stuff that is like completely artificial, but it's they don't believe in caffeine. There's a handful of things. They're really strict on that. And when you started getting into, then it went further than that with the clothing and all of that. There's a couple that do the same thing with like there's a kind of a dress code, like dresses and no pants on women, that kind of thing. I just reminded me. I wanted to mention it before we got further.
Oh, okay.
yeah, sure. Thanks. So the members of this group were forced to live in unsanitary, overcrowded place without access to proper medical care. And on top of this unlivable conditions, Children were beaten, starved, and forced to work long hours in the fields, while the adults were sexually abused by Therio, who claimed it was necessary for their spiritual development. And yet, this is only the tip of the iceberg, as Therio inflicted even worse instances of horrific abuse. Now, members of this anthill kids cult were afraid to leave the compound, as he had convinced them that they would be killed and would lose their salvation. So now, 1979, February came and went, and there was no apocalypse. So, to cover this up, Therio said that the world didn't end because of the differences in the Israelite calendar and the Roman Catholic calendar.
So he said that the world did end?
Didn't end
Oh, okay.
because of the differences in the calendar.
Why do I feel like this is like a theme when like something like that doesn't happen? Like when it's like, oh, it's coming in a year, we better prepare, and then like time comes and goes, and they have to think of something in their head, like, oh, the calendar was off a little bit, we have a little bit more time or something.
Remember that old guy that was doing that recently? Like it was a couple years ago. He was really old. Mm-hmm. And he had this big prophecy for like 2000. It was like 2014 or 15 or something like that.
Yeah.
And it was a specific church, I think, out of California or somewhere. And it didn't happen. And he did the exact thing that you're talking about. He's like, well, but he swore up and down the new date was real though.
Yeah. There was another guy. I think it was in Arizona or New Mexico. I cannot remember his name. I was trying to look it up real quick. But what you're saying, Ro, is exactly almost like what he did, where he brought this group of people to like the desert where they, had their own like living quarters and everything like that. He said he was the Messiah, the chosen one, was having like sex with all the women, and like even his son, thought that like, oh yeah, my dad's the Messiah, and the dad slept with. Do you know who I'm talking about, Seth?
Yes, I do.
Do you know his name?
I do. And the interviewer, hold up. The interviewer called him out, and he's like, yeah, that was a rough watch.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Keep going.
Yeah. The guy even slept with his son's wife. And because, and we might have to do an episode on this one even, but kind of what you're saying, Ro, is almost the same thing. Everyone would work, he would do all the stuff, and he was sexually abusing people, being like, it's for like, it's for you to be closer to God. And then even like the date thing where he's like, at this time and date, I think it was on Halloween, actually, he was like, yep, at midnight on this, like we're leaving this world. And it didn't happen. Spoiler alert. But yeah, but like, it was really weird because like the film, like there was a film crew, like Seth was saying, who was not allowed in the compound when this happened, but they like stood outside the gate, and like they heard bells and like all this cheering and everything, and they came down the road to like meet with the interview people, and he was still there. And he's like, oh, but my spiritually, or my like inner being left this world, and like all the cult people were clapping and everything. It was just like, oh, why do you believe this guy? It was yeah.
Is it called Strong City?
Yes,
New Mexico.
Yes, that's what it is.
Yep.
What's his name?
I can't find his name. The guy that interviewed him, I believe his name is Rick Allen Ross. Or is that either the interviewer or the researcher that did the whole thing on him? I found the video, but Jeff, I think one of the names are Jeff.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, but Strong City, New Mexico, Doomsday Cult. Just Google that, and the listeners will be able to find what we're talking about.
Okay, bro, we got off on there. Okay.
Sorry.
No, that's
we tangent. Welcome back.
Well, it was bound to happen. All right. Now, so to expand this community, as well as to keep the members devoted, um, Terrio married and impregnated all of the women in this cult. So he fathered over 20 children with 9 female members of the group.
Oh my gosh.
So the AntHill kids, they generated income by selling baked goods, and individuals who failed to contribute a sufficient amount of money faced harsh punishments. Terrio maintained constant surveillance over his followers, ensuring their unwavering devotion, and penalized those who deviated from his directives, asserting that God told him to do it. So now his punishments were extreme. If a person wanted to leave the cult, Rock would punish them with either belts, hits from, or suspending them from the ceiling, plucking each of their body hairs individually, or even by defecating on them.
If they wanted to leave?
That would just make me want to leave more.
Like, okay, so why wouldn't you just like, okay, all right, I'll stay, but in the middle of the night just be like, I'm out of here. Like, why would you go up to the, okay, I mean, like, all right, you're in the cult, I get it, you're under, like, you believe this guy, you would hope that he would let you leave. I understand that piece, but I think, yeah, if someone was like, I'm going to take a dump on you if you leave, I would just be like, all right, I'm not going to tell you that I'm going to leave. I'm just going to leave. That is, and plucking the body hairs. I think,
And
All right. You know the ritual for
yeah,
leaving.
and it's not even
Oh, I didn't think this was going to be, we were going to have any jokes in this episode.
I'm sorry. I can't help it. This is how I cope with life.
Oh,
and it's not even that he caught them leaving. If he thought that a follower
Annoyed. Okay.
Wait. So if you were like, if you were just like, you know, in the field, just like, all right, I'm working day in, day out, and he's like, you're gonna leave, aren't you? No, I'm not gonna leave. I'm gonna take a crap on you tonight. Like that was the consequence. Just like if he thought, oh my gosh, or getting your body hairs plucked out. Oh my god.
It's so neurotic, one at a time, too.
Oh,
yes.
Did he have tweezers?
I
I
would
guess he
have.
had to.
Yeah.
You have to. Yeah. What other way is there?
I mean, I guess just your hands.
Have you tried? I've tried.
Maybe.
I've tried to like do that with the nail. It just doesn't work. Yeah. See.
I think doing it with your hands would take longer, but it would be more pain because it doesn't come out right away. You know?
It would be weirder too.
Yeah.
Some old guy like, come here.
He has the ritual hair plucker guy. Yeah, come here. I'm sorry. We shouldn't be making jokes.
Again, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we
Yeah, I'm
shouldn't
sorry.
be
Welcome
making-
back again.
All right. All right, Ro. What else you got for us?
I've got a lot.
All right.
Well, I've when I was doing the research, I had to take a pause here about what I'm going to talk about because I couldn't fathom how can an individual even come up with something. Because after this, guys, I blanked out honestly. Like I couldn't figure out what could make a man do this. So he basically like he was a maniac and he just triggered brutal punishments out of nowhere.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
in 1981, there was a 2-year-old boy, Samuel, difficulty in urinating. What Cherio did is he sliced open the penis of this young boy to ensure that, he thought he knew medical care, how to give medical care, and that's what he did. He sliced open the penis of a 2-year-old boy, and obviously that young boy, he couldn't stop crying after the so-called surgery. What Terrio did is he ordered one of his followers, Guy Veer, to beat the small boy to make him stop crying. And eventually Samuel died from his injuries.
I was gonna say that is a huge medical procedure. You just don't like that is there can be like you can die from that. So I'm surprised that like the boy actually lived after the procedure, the what he did. So what did he die? I guess from the beating, or was it the
From the
surgery,
injury.
or was it both?
Wait,
I think it
are you
was no.
are you
Sorry,
saying
go
that
on.
he did this because the kid could not urinate? There was like something, there was a blockage or
Yes.
something? Wow.
Yes. So he had difficulty in urinating, and that's what he did.
Wow. Okay.
So Rock claimed to be a holy being, and started performing these kind of unnecessary amateur surgical operations on sick members of his cult to demonstrate his healing powers, so-called healing powers. So when I talk surgery, this surgery basically had, this method basically meant injecting a 94% ethanol solution into stomachs. If yes, or performing circumcisions on the children and adults of this group. So now to cover up the death of young Samuel, the cult then set the boy's body on fire. Now look at this brain working. Because Samuel died, as punishment, Terrio castrated Guy, the same person whom he had ordered to beat the young boy. And because the boy died, he castrated this man and he ordered his followers to say, in case someone comes checking, he ordered his followers to say that Guy had been trampled upon by a horse.
What? Oh, that is insane.
Yep.
However, the truth came out, and the police raided the commune and discovered the charred body of young Samuel. Now, Terrio, along with 8 others, were arrested and charged with criminal negligence using bodily harm. But another twist, they were all subsequently released. I don't know how.
It didn't say like
They were-
how or why or anything. It's just like they were released.
They were released, that's it.
I wonder if it had something to do with like, because I do know this is that if there isn't enough evidence at the time, like you can hold people, like you can hold someone in like question them to like for the crime. Like they can be brought in, they can be arrested, whatever. We're doing an investigation, you're under arrest till whatever. But if they don't have enough evidence, like if all the cult members in that were like, I don't know what happened, or like like everyone had the same story and they couldn't charge anybody, they would release everybody until the police or the detectives or whoever was conducting the investigation, until they had enough evidence to charge someone for that murder. Because I think it's anywhere from like, don't quote me on this, I know every state is different too, but I think you have anywhere from like 24 hours to 72 hours of holding somebody, and then you have to release them. You can't just keep them there, and unless you're going to charge them. So they might have had the charred body, but did they have enough to convince a jury that this specific, because they probably didn't know who did it. Could it have been one of
Quite
the
possible. This was 1980s, so
yeah.
I don't know how advanced the techniques were.
I mean, I feel like
Very advanced.
yeah, I feel like it was like, they knew about like blood sampling, like I think they knew like, hey, okay, physical evidence, we have to like make sure it's there. But yeah, I think it had something to do with like they just didn't have enough to charge anybody. And especially like if all the members of the cult were all on the same page with the kid just fell into the fire, or like, or something, or like he hit his head on a rock and then like who knows what they said. I mean, did they say what the cult members say happened to the boy? Okay. Interesting.
They were asked to cover up the castration of that guy by saying that he was trampled upon by a horse. I'm sure they must have been told what to say about young Samuel's death.
Yeah, I'm sure. And then too, like the fact that like people would get, there's consequences even if the leader thought that they were leaving. I'm sure they were just like, I don't know what happened. If in a pinch, I'm sure they're like, I wasn't there or something.
Yeah.
That's insane.
It is. It is. Well, following the release of Terrio and his followers, they moved from that place and established a community near a place called Burnt River in Ontario. So here now the total number of people that Terrio ruled over were approximately 40, including 26 children, most of who were his own. And here again, his followers were supporting themselves by making maple syrup, preserves, bread, and smoked fish. Now, initially in this place, the commune seemed to integrate well into the community, but over time, Rock's alcohol consumption escalated, leading to an increase in his already violent behavior. He began to exercise authority over his followers through cruel means, and they found themselves too physically and mentally vulnerable to escape his grip. Um, I mean, he even used to prohibit them from talking to each other without his permission. He organized these gladiator tournaments where he forced his followers to engage in fights. And his distrust kind of grew as he suspected his followers were contemplating defection. And this fear fueled his brutality. He so initially, like I said, he used to hit his followers with belts. Then he eventually introduced hammers, and then eventually the flat side of an axe.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. He even made his followers prove their loyalty by breaking their own legs with a sledgehammer.
How would you do that? I don't like I don't think I would have enough. Oh, I don't because I know like
See, Alex, you need to understand. So if you are in that cult, you have been there for so many years. So it's either you breaking your own legs or getting something even worse.
Okay, but okay, if you guys told me, like, the podcast crew was like, hey, Alex, you should probably break your leg to show your loyalty to the podcast, I would be like, I'm sorry, I'm done with the podcast. Like, again, I get it, but I don't get it at the same time. There's certain things that I don't know. I just don't get it. I don't.
I picture that scene from Misery.
But
they're doing it to themselves.
Yes, that's what I mean. Have you seen the movie Misery, Ro?
But I know about Saw.
Okay, so you need to watch the movie Misery. It's Stephen King, the author.
Yes,
It's an adaptation to that book. And it's great. I think it was made in the 80s, late 80s, early 90s, one of the two. So it's a little bit older movie, but it's right up your alley, Ro. You would love it. You need to watch it.
Sure. So now, in addition to breaking their own legs, he would also order his followers to sit on lit stoves
Wait.
other in the yeah, lit
Oh no! What?
stoves. What do you call stoves?
Oh! I got you. No. I thought
Oops.
it was something else. No. Okay. Wow. Yeah, that's pretty rough. It's equally as bad. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know what's
Yeah.
worse: breaking your legs with a sledgehammer or sitting on a stove.
Yeah, so they had to sit on lit stoves, shoot each other in the shoulder, or smear poop on each other. It also went to an extent where a follower would sometimes be asked to cut off another follower's toes with a wire cutter to prove loyalty. He degraded them so much that apart from sexually abusing his followers, he also forced them to eat their own feces.
This guy was really obsessed with shit. Like
He was.
He was.
for whatever reason, like, okay, yeah, I get it. That is because that is like a very, it's disgusting. No one wants to. So like, I guess for proving your loyalty and stuff, it's, but he was. I've never heard of a cult leader, doing so much with feces. Wow. Okay.
I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know. He just
Jim
wanted
Jones
to
was just
degrade
pee.
them.
Oh, sorry.
What?
Well, Jones was just he just peed on things. This guy takes it to the next level.
Jim Jones peed on people?
I know he pissed on what do you call it? The pulpit area. He did that a few times.
Oh, okay.
I know that. You can look that up.
So
But this guy takes it to a whole nother level.
Yeah.
He was just degrading them, ensuring that they're so affected by it mentally that they wouldn't even think of leaving him. I think that was his end game. Like, nobody leaves me.
I mean, that is like, yeah, that is, I can see that. Like, if you are like, you do an extreme, like, this is what will happen if you leave. Like, yeah, I understand that. Like, okay, I don't want to leave. Like, no. And then, like, all right, prove your loyalty to me. Like, cut off one of your toes, or like something that like this. All right, it's just a pinky toe. Like, I guess I can handle it.
Also, I think doing what he said, just getting over with it, made more sense to his followers, because I think in their mind, if they didn't do what he said, what he would do to them was even worse. So I think to avoid that, they would just go with whatever he said.
I can see that as well. Yeah.
That's at least. Now, so even the children in the commune weren't exempt from violence or sexual abuse. They would be stripped naked and whipped, and if one allegedly misbehaved, Rock would nail them to a tree and force the other children to throw rocks at them.
He would nail them to a tree? Oh,
I don't like this guy.
I put a picture of him and his cult members in the photos area.
He looks like, if I were to describe him to the audience, has anybody seen Jumanji? Like when Robin Williams comes back?
Yes.
Yeah, he looks like that guy.
Just bald.
Yeah, just bald.
Yeah.
I was about to say, please don't insult Robin Williams.
Yeah. Did you have to use Robin Williams?
Oh, that's true. I didn't put it together. This guy is purely evil. I'm just saying, Robin Williams is a great actor.
Yeah.
He totally played this guy.
Okay.
Children nailed to the tree.
Yeah.
So then one evening during a blizzard, one of the mothers who was impregnated by rock, uh, she gave birth and she placed her newborn baby outside in that blizzard because she didn't want her child to go through that same abuse. And obviously, the baby died from the cold. But this death led to an investigation again. And in 1987, 14 children were removed from this cult and placed in foster homes. Again, I don't know how luck, how much of um, luck plays an important factor in this. This could have ended his regime of abuse, but Children's Aid were only interested in saving the children and not seeking justice.
Yeah.
So the cult actually continued with just 2 men and 8 women. So now, after the children were removed, he became even more violent. And like I said, he believed he was a doctor who could perform medical acts on his followers. And one evening, I'm sorry, I'm just digesting this fact, and I'm flinching as well. But on one evening, he placed a rubber band around the testicles of one of his followers, and the scrotum became so swollen and infected after around 8 hours. Therio removed the testicle and cauterized the wound with a hot iron.
Was there any, what was the reason, was it, I mean, I can see like it's a power move, like I have like the ultimate power, but like was he like trying to heal him in some sort of way, or was he like, I have some pain down there, or was it like, I'm just gonna do this to you because I feel like it?
Yeah. Was it a medical thing or was it a punishment thing?
It wasn't a medical thing, it wasn't a punishment thing. It's just that when he was drunk, he believed that he could heal everyone, even though that person was not suffering from anything.
So he was just like, hey man, come over here real
Give me
quick.
your
Like,
balls.
yeah.
There's this hard line. I would think in most humans' brain that's like hardwired for like self-preservation, and I get that like cults can get this. I understand it like intellectually that this can get this far, but it's so crazy to think that survival mechanism doesn't activate in this type of situation. Multiple, like breaking your own leg with a sledgehammer.
So
like any of these,
I think a big thing is like with like the Christianity belief is that like your body is like, it's just temporary. Like being here on earth is very temporary. You will go off to another plane. Like it's one of these things where
it's also the temple. It's also God's temple.
True, but I feel like there are people willing to be like, I don't like a very less extreme version is like, I don't care what I wear, I don't care what I look like, I don't care what society thinks of like how I dress, because none of the material stuff matters here on earth. What matters is the next place after this. So I feel like it's one of these things where it's like, okay, I don't need my like, because the thing is like he was the leader. He said like he was like, you know, God was talking to him, and if it was something that he was like, hey, God told me that I need to do this to you, because like there's plenty of references in the Bible, like the circumcision, like, you know, sacrificing their children because in the name of God, it happens. So it's, I don't know how much, I don't know if he was teaching directly from the Bible or if he had like new, like, you know, like this is my teachings type thing where it's like, this is what you need to do. But there's the Bible
He read his, yeah. He referenced the Bible, but it was his personal interpretation of what the Bible said.
Okay.
What he believed the Bible said.
Now, Seth, don't get me wrong. I agree with you. Like, I would be the same way.
I'm just saying, man.
but I think when people are put in a situation where like they Like because I mean, like, yes, they are adults, but there are adults that are following him for whatever reason. So you know what I mean? It's
Yes,
not like
it's so hard to wrap my head around.
I know.
Like, that kind of, like, I don't like it when people like growing up. I mean, I wish Clark was here because he could. But like growing up in a Christian school with like the dress code and like, oh, you're like, to this day, if anyone makes a comment about anything I wear, man, I'm that will do it for me. So this is the kind of thing is so alien.
I mean, but all right, so I guess look at it like this way. I think this might be a better way to kind of like, all right, do you pay your electric bill?
Yes.
Why why do you do it?
So I can talk to you guys.
Yeah, but why? You don't need to. Like, it's energy.
It entertains me.
I mean, you don't need to.
You don't need to.
It
Why?
entertains me.
But
Because I want to.
I see. But why do you want to? You know, I'm playing
Because it I could do this all night.
But you see, like, okay, I guess that's a terrible example, but it's one of these things where it's like, okay,
No, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. Still, man.
All right, Ro, okay, continue. This is this guy.
This guy, yes. So now, in 1989, there was a follower, a lady named Solange Boillard, who complained of an upset stomach. So you know where this is going. So
Ethanol injection. Yeah.
What he did is he ordered the lady onto the kitchen table, stripped her naked, and he punched her hard in her stomach. Then shoved a plastic tube up her rectum and performed an enema with molasses and olive oil.
Molasses and olive oil?
Yes. An
That's
enema made of
colonic.
molasses and olive oil.
I'm sorry.
And
I'm trying not to joke. This is so crazy. Like, I want you to understand, Ro, that like this is on such an insane level. My reflex is to like, it's like my brain protecting itself. So sorry.
That's all right.
It's so
we all deal with it in a different way.
It's so weird that it's like you, because like, okay,
he really liked butt stuff.
Stop.
He did.
You didn't.
It's because it's so crazy. Because it's like, why? Because we keep saying it. Like, why would you do this stuff? Like, what? Like, even as the leader, like, this guy was sick. This guy was really sick. Like, to torture, like you said, Ro, like, this guy he's just torturing people. For what? Like, I don't understand. Okay. All right.
So did she survive?
Oh no, that's not it.
Oh.
That's not it.
Okay.
He then made an incision on the side of her abdomen and pulled out a section of her intestine with his bare hands. He then ripped a piece of that intestine out and stuffed the rest back in her abdomen and then stitched her back up. Surprisingly, she remained alive, but she was obviously in agony until the next day when she finally died, because obviously of the chemicals that were leaking into her abdominal cavity. Again, this does not stop here. He had to, even after her death, he had to degrade her further. Now, Theriot claimed that he had the ability of resurrection. So, he actually ordered his followers to remove Solange's uterus and saw off a portion of her skull. And he ejaculated into her brain so that he can bring her back to life.
Are you serious? Like this is not this is not real. There's no way that this can be real. This is insane.
I told you,
What?
Alex. I already gave you the warning.
Why? Like I don't. What this? Like I don't even think they could make a Netflix. I don't even think they could make like a Netflix or Hulu thing like documentary because this is so extreme. Like this is like.
Well, yeah, it would have to be like a weird underground release, like they did in the '80s, where nothing was rated.
Yeah, it's
like
But
that. Like
there is
that
a movie,
document.
you guys.
what
There is a movie
of this?
released in 2002. Yes.
AntHill Cult.
It
I'm
stars
gonna watch that.
it stars Luke Picard.
There is a movie of this.
Yes. And wait, I'll tell you. It's called Savage Messiah.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Hmm.
There is a movie.
Wow.
But I'm not sure. I haven't
you
watched
can watch
it.
the whole thing on YouTube. The whole thing's on YouTube.
Are you
for free.
serious?
Yeah. It's called Savage Messiah full movie. If you just type in AntHill Cult movie, it's the first one on YouTube.
Not sure how much of it they have actually showed, or
Crazy.
maybe they've just suggested about what's happened.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch this. Oh wow. Maybe I'm not. I don't know. Continue, Ro. Jeez.
So yeah, now obviously she didn't resurrect. So he instead ordered his followers to bury her body on the grounds of the commune. But first, what he did is he removed one of her ribs and he kept it in a leather case around his neck.
Hmm.
So going forward, I think it's 1989, November. There was another member, a lady named Gabrielle Lavelli. She complained that she had a toothache.
No. Like this might be where I draw the line. I have trauma from as a kid from the dentist.
You don't like teeth stuff?
I hate teeth stuff. I don't know what it is. Like I hate going to the dentist nowadays. Like all right.
I'll listen, Ro. He can mute himself.
Let's do it. Come on.
So when she complained of a toothache, he responded by ripping out a number of her teeth with pliers. And later that night, he chased her with a knife and cut the tendon of one of her hands.
Why?
Eventually, that.
What?
Stop asking me why.
Sorry, bro. Tell me why.
I don't know.
Oh. Okay.
Now that eventually healed, thankfully. But later on, in a couple of months later, she complained about the stiffness in the hand. I don't know why people are telling him about their medical problems.
Yeah, right. You'd be the last person I tell.
Why? Learn something.
Do you think it was one of these?
Yeah.
Do you think it was one of these things where like other people were telling him of other people's problems, so he would stay away from them? Like it was like the members were going against each other, being like, all right, I actually have kind of a headache and he's been looking at me weird. She has a toothache. Like one of those type things.
That would be very sad. I mean, I don't know.
Oh.
The records, I mean, there is an interview of Gabrielle Lovely if you want to look it up, and it's there. So yeah, so she says that she complained of the stiffness in her hand. Failed her hand on the kitchen table. And he then decided that he needed to amputate her arm. What he did is he picked up a meat cleaver and hacked her arm off.
It is. Oh, jeez! From a toothache, you lose your arm. Wow.
Yes. So obviously she was in agony, and until the stump was stitched up the following morning. I don't know whether it was done by Rock or by some other member of the cult.
I'm guessing
But now
it
yes.
it had to have been
Mhm.
by somebody else. It had to have. I'm guessing like he
Yes.
wouldn't have known
This
what
would
to do.
have
Yeah.
yeah. So now this is now gradually coming to an end. Gabrielle Lavely, she managed to escape from the commune. She hitchhiked to a hospital north of Toronto, and finally she spoke to someone there, and Roth Theriot was arrested. Um, and oh, I actually also forgot that when she was going through her toothache thing, where you know, eh, he forcibly removed her teeth with pliers. She also suffered welding torch burns to her genitals and a hypodermic needle breaking off in her back.
Oh.
But these people, whoever survived, are like living their best life, vacationing somewhere from like a giant class action lawsuit money or something, which she probably didn't have.
Yeah, I was gonna say like how would they get money from like I don't.
Yeah, he probably doesn't have anything
My only thing is that
unless he works like Scientology.
yeah.
Also, there was one part that I missed. I'm sorry, but she actually attempted to escape from the commune once. Um, after he tried, I mean, after he tried, no, after he cut off parts of her breast and smashed her head with the blunt side of an axe. Um, it
So
was
this
not the
guy.
stiffness of her arm. Yeah,
No, go ahead. I can wait.
yeah, no. So she attempted to escape, but she had to return. I don't know why she wasn't able to escape. But upon her return, it was not the stiffness of her arm, or was it? She did complain about the stiffness of her arm, but before chopping off her arm, I can't call it amputate in
Yeah.
that entire sense of the word. Yeah. So he actually removed one of her fingers with wire cutters and then pinned her hand to the wooden to a wooden table with a hunting knife and then chopped off her arm. So after this, she eventually fled the cult again. She contacted the authorities, and um, finally in 1989, Rock Theroux was arrested. So what actually also happened is the authorities had I mean, they had suspicions about this cult. But because this commune was officially registered as a church, the officials were unable to legally investigate the adults and could not do much except, ensure the welfare of those children. Um, so Rock Theriot was found guilty of assault. He received a sentence of 12 years imprisonment. So while he was in jail, a majority of the cult's followers they abandoned him after his arrest. But and I hate to say this, but he fathered another 4 children with the remaining female members during conjugal visits.
So there were still
Okay.
members that. Wow.
Yes.
The only way
So
I can
now,
process any of this is it's like if it makes more sense to me to go, okay, Jeffrey Dahmer started a cult. Like it's like somebody like that, somebody like Ted Bundy or any of these guys that are sadists, and then they find themselves in the position of like a cult leadership. That's the only way any of this makes sense, because he was just a madman that found himself in this position and took complete advantage of it.
I don't get it.
So
I don't.
eventually, after Gabrielle Avell's report, there were further investigations done into Terio's actions, and it kind of exposed all the abuses at the commune, and also Solange's murder. In 1993, Rock pleaded guilty to second-degree murder for the death of Solange, and he was sentenced to life imprisonment.
And that was the little boy, right?
No, Solange was the lady who's
yeah. Okay. Yep.
punched her stomach.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
In 2011, when Rock Terrio was 63, he was found dead in his cell. So his death is believed to be the result of a fight between him and his cellmate, Matthew Gerard McDonald. It is said that he stabbed Rock in the neck with a shiv. He walked up to the guard station, handed them the weapon, and him that piece of shit is down on the range. Here's the knife. I have sliced him up.
I wonder if it was something where, I don't know how prison works, but like I'm wondering if it was something where like he wasn't truthful with like why he was there, and then it finally got out, like all the things that he had done, and then that's how someone got their revenge, because he was I don't know.
Especially if they've ever found out kids were abused.
Yeah.
And then he's done for there.
Yeah, because I do know that's a huge huge thing in prison, is if you do anything to kids, you're done. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this was all about the AntHill Cult that I wanted to talk about, you guys. Thoughts?
Wow. Well, I mean, yeah.
I'm glad it's morning time for me, because I don't think I could sleep after that.
Yeah, I gotta get up. I mean, I was gonna come on the show and show off my new skull cap, but now it feels oddly inappropriate or something. I don't know.
Oh, Ro, so let me ask you this, Ro. How did you hear about this cult? Were you just like looking up? How did you find out about it?
So remember we were doing an episode about cults.
Yeah.
General. We had talked about it. So I was just checking something, and I went into a rabbit hole, and I was you know me, I had to find out the worst of the lot. I just read a summary of it, and I was like, I have to speak about it.
Yeah, no, thank you for doing that, because I honestly I've never heard of this, and like that is insane. The things that he did are he was truly sick. Now, like again, like some of the cults, like the one down in New Mexico or whatever, I'm not saying what he did was right, but I feel like his stuff was more just like power, just like it was nowhere near what this guy was doing. This guy is on a whole nother level. Like this guy, like you said, he murdered people. He was cutting off arms and legs, or maybe not legs, but making people break their own legs and just doing sick things. I don't know. I'm kind of speechless right now.
Yeah, I get that. But I was also actually looking through his history, and one thing that I liked, or something that came up in my mind, is In spite of him doing all this sick things, he didn't plead insanity. Because that would have been um this is purely basis on the shows that I've watched.
Yeah.
Not that I have any legal knowledge, but people do plead insanity, that they were not in the right state of mind, or things like that.
So like to try to
He was, yeah.
to try to get out of like his crimes that he did,
Yes.
like to plead insanity. Okay, so like he was like, no, I knew what I was doing. But see, like, I wonder, like, again, this is in Canada, so I don't know how the Canada court system works.
True.
I don't know if it's something like, I feel like, I wonder if, like, okay, so let's, like, I wonder if in the United States, if a jury, if they were to, because this guy was clearly, like, to me, this guy, he was mentally, like, there was something mentally wrong with him. Now, I wonder if, like, as a jury member, you could suggest something like, this guy doesn't need to go to prison, he needs to go to a mental hospital. Like,
but that would be like if Ted Bundy, if the jury were like, Ted Bundy is crazy, he's not evil, like, like if he knew he was doing, I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, some people are just born evil.
That's true.
Yeah. I 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
I know. How would you in a jury, how would that even play out, that he wasn't just a sadistic assaulter? I mean, there's manslaughter, like maybe he didn't plan to murder like somebody, but like they died as a result of his treatment or whatever.
And see, that's the thing with, I know in the States, like that's the court system, like that's kind of how it works, is like you don't look at the other pieces. It's like, what is this person being charged for? Is it like, okay, so is it the crime of, this person died? Okay, like you look at all the pieces and what like the prosecutor is bringing to the table. If you can't, because I know, well, what was it? Casey Anthony, like her daughter died, and the defense's biggest thing was, and I think this is how she got away with it, is the defense was like, because the defense asked the jury, like, did the prosecutor without a doubt prove to you guys that she was the one that committed this crime? And it wasn't. Like the prosecutor for that crime, I know, was all like, this is what it could, like, this is possibly what happened. It's not without a doubt, like based on how the language is written in the law, without a reasonable doubt did this person. And if you can't say it without a reasonable doubt that this person did it, then they shouldn't be charged with anything. So again, like, I know we're getting off on like a weird little tangent, but I wonder if it was like the same thing with like those crimes. Like, I don't know if in Canada, if it's like without a doubt they have to like do X, Y, and Z to be criminally insane. Well, maybe he didn't fit that criteria, so that's why it wasn't. He just went to normal prison, which I think prison was the right place for him. So.
And he still managed to father 4 children. I wonder who those women are.
Yeah, that's insane.
I don't know. Some daddy issues.
Yeah. Well, Ro, thank you for shedding some light on this cult. There's a movie. If you the audience members want to take a listen to that, feel free to. Before we sign off, any final thoughts on this? Seth is shaking his head no.
Final thoughts would be, if you're part of a group which does not cater to your well-being or to the society's well-being, you are in a cult.
Yeah, right. I would agree. All right. Go ahead and check out our can't talk anymore because I'm thinking about all this crazy stuff. Check out the social medias. There you go. And we got a merch store, so if you want some apparel you can wear that's effing weird, feel free to check that out. And just remember, We don't want stuff that's normal. We want stuff that's effing weird. Oh, bro, that was an intense one.
It was. Wow.
I'm sorry.
No, that was I think that's a great like starting one to come back to.
Yeah. Welcome back. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.